What's up, guys?
Hey, Michelle.
Hey, how's it going? The squad.
Yeah, what's up, Coleman? I loved your voice message, Michelle. We were talking about the household and sharing love and creating love,
Oh,
starting the love.
Oh, I realized I was muted.
yeah, I couldn't hear you. I'm
That was
like,
awesome.
am I not listening to him? And
Sorry.
yeah,
You
no
guys were
worries.
ready to come in. Thank you. You guys are like the squad.
Peter,
I love it.
are you talking about when I stayed with the senior living last week?
Yeah, I was looking
Crazy.
for something way back on the channel, and I got kind of lost on where you
Oh, I
actually made
know.
that. So I wasn't sure when you posted that. It must have been pretty recently, right?
Like about 2 months ago. Yeah, I told about the story of my girlfriend in that home and the mom and creating love and no love. Yeah, I remember.
It
Very
was.
cool.
Yeah, super cool, man. I'm glad I found it today, just random. So cool. Really helps. Really
It's
helps.
funny. I think you're sounding a little bit of robotic, Peter, and a little bit cutting, like it's going like, whoa.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
probably
yeah, there you go.
I'm deep in.
yeah.
It
Am I
sounds,
back? Let me know.
I think you're good.
I'm better now.
Yeah, it's funny how you said that because after I sent you guys that message one in the beginning of the feeling the Venus sequence coming through and understanding creating love and no love. Um, I think about two weeks ago, that was building up a lot. And then we went from, I think I mentioned to Common, our anniversary came through and we ended up going out and eating some stuff that we don't eat, but that stirred up a little bit of the poisons and toxins inside us. And we went through a detox, like massive headache and body aches. And that provided a conversation with her mom that was like very deep and it really opened the doors for healing trauma in relationship. So it's been pretty intense. So
Wow.
and that happened right before you went. We had our Thanksgiving and right before her grandpa's 90th year, birthday, which is her mom's dad. So the timing is just being crucial. Like when I think about timing these days, I'm like, wow, the timing is just perfect. There's not such a thing as timing, but it's just
Yeah,
it's
because
perfect.
time is a construct.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And here comes the sigh. Ah, it's okay. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think Peter's a little frozen. Oh, there we go. So, hold on one second. So, did you guys, I know we talked about the like last week we didn't want to go too far into the SQ this week. Michelle, I don't know if you caught like the end of that the recording or anything, but we like where we're at in the Venus sequence is right now just like the pathway of intelligence. And you're free to read beyond if you want to. Like you don't we don't have this isn't too structured. It's not like, oh, how dare you read ahead. Um, but so yeah, we touched on like the IQ and all the lines last week, and that was fun. I had a blast with that. Uh, it was funny to see like the lines just play out in real life. Like as we were just talking about different things, it was pretty hilarious. Peter's over here just like contemplating something, and he has the contemplative mind. I'm here like making some quantum leaps, and like Katie and Jordan were just like being super practical and
I was
defensive.
walking in Cali, but I was there. Yes,
Yeah.
in the middle of like a chaos street, and everything was playing out really, really well. Yeah, I remember that. It was pretty.
So the Pathway of Intelligence was sort of a shorter read, but we can continue to kind of talk about like the whole Venus sequence. Did you get a chance to read any of that? I read a
You
little bit of. I read the Pathway, and then I read into the beginning of the EQ, just because I was kind of curious. Um,
know, yeah, I was reading this morning actually the 2027 mutation that
oh,
Katie
cool.
sent. And I also read the Cross, the Phoenix Sleep. What is
Okay,
it?
so the other two links that Katie put in there, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just felt like reading those before this class, which really brought me a lot of awareness and some of the contemplation, because I am a projector in the human design. It's all about the solar plexus. And I know the gates that they mentioned there, they're not really my gates. But it doesn't really matter because we're all gonna feel it anyways. But
Mhm.
I did read a little bit of the IQ. I think my IQ is 46.3, which is the same as my Pearl. I have two like 46.3, which is the seriousness of the
Mhm.
shadow, delight, and ecstasy.
So I also have the
You do, right? I think.
46.
Oh,
Not the point .3, but I have the 46. I have the point .2,
uh,
but it's still, yeah, it's interesting.
interesting. Point two is the only line that I don't have all of my whole entire hologenetic
Mm.
profile. My point one, I have the most. Point one and point three, I have the most. And then I have SQ 0.5 and attraction is 0.6, but everything else, and then vocation is 0.4, but everything else is 0.3 and 0.1,
Hmm.
which is interesting. But
Yeah, so what were like kind of the biggest takeaways you got from reading the links that Katie posted, the like the mutation and the cross of the sleeping phoenix and like yeah.
yeah, there's so many things there. They're awesome. I thought it was really cool that just how he starts talking about like 40 years ago, everybody had a full-time job, and now people are like, no, fuck this. Like, we're
Yeah.
not slaves, man. Like, why are we doing this? So that really resonate, because 2 years ago is when I was like, I'm done. I'm quitting. I think I got enough information
Yeah.
and, wisdom and experiences working for a corporation. And I think I'm ready to just kind of let go and do my own thing and have more time for myself to heal and be creative and do the things that I really like to do.
Hmm.
So that's huge. Also, how it's going to be more like an individual thing rather than a tribe, right? I think he was talking about individuality or authenticity a lot. And I see that's happening to all of us, like with you and the consciousness stream with Dave, and just saying like, I'm just gonna, like me, right, trying to make my videos. I'm like, it's not gonna be perfect. I'm just gonna send a message. It's okay if I look certain way, how I speak, and I was paying attention how I speak and my mouth is all crooked. I'm like, well, that's how my mouth is. What am I
Same.
gonna do? You know?
I talk on like one side of my
Speak
face,
like this, one-sided. And I was like, wow, I'm observing that actually a lot of people do that, and I never paid attention. But
right?
just little things that I'm like, I will be concerned of not posting. I'm like, yeah, who cares? This is just me. It's what you see, is what you get. And just kind of, letting go, right, of the perfectionism and comparison and having to be like a certain way. I'm like, just be you. And like Richard Rudd says, right, the easiest and the hardest thing to do is to be yourself. And that still stuck in my mind. That is the easiest and the hardest. But it's becoming more easier though than hardest. I'm like, yeah,
Hmm.
whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
that's
cool.
That's like the past like 3 or 4 days, the Gene Key 9 has been in transit.
Mm,
And then it's going to move into the 5, which is all about like timelessness. But Gene Key 9 is like inertia, determination, and invincibility. And it's all about like doing the little things that are like hard, like moving out of inertia. Inertia is like this heavy, dense, like just weight or wall in front of you that you have to like break through. But once you break through it, it gets easier. And then it
nah.
gets easier and easier and easier. You just got to keep doing it and doing it with, like, they really just said there's no other way to do it except with an open heart. Like, there, it doesn't work if you have a closed heart. It's going to be harder. You're going to hit that huge wall the same time every time. But if you like go forward with that open heart, it'll be easier. And then, yeah, it's like you said, like the more you kind of just let go and do it. Just do it. Just do it for the sake of doing it, no matter what. Like all those thoughts will come up. Yeah, my face is weird. Yeah, I didn't shave today. I look like a scrub or what, like whatever it is.
And then you just laugh about it, right? Like, man, I'm so funny. Like, I think there's somewhere along the way that he says, if you cannot have fun and laugh about yourself, I mean, you're not living. And that's something I always did. Like, I crack myself up. Like, it's funny. Like, sometimes I look like, oh my God, look at this. It's hilarious. Or like my feet. I have the craziest feet you can ever imagine. I was born a club foot baby. So it's like a combination of a hobbit foot, crooked, like bone is really, really pronounced. I have hammer toes. I mean, it's so bad, but it's so funny that I used to be so self-conscious about my feet. And I'm like, man, I have the funniest feet. So embrace it. Just take the weight off your shoulders. I mean, it sucks. It's crazy, but I'm seeing here I have my EQ at 5.3. And you remember you said timelessness. I'm like, I know I have that somewhere.
Mm.
So yeah.
Yeah, I have that in my human design somewhere. I have the 5. I think a lot of people in this group have the 5.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, the 5 is a
Cool.
beautiful key. It's like honestly like one of my favorite ones. It's like when I usually like when someone's like give me an example of a key, that's like the one I go to right away because it's so simple to describe the shadow, the gift in the city. It's like the shadow of impatience. What's the opposite of impatience? Patience. It's just too easy. And then it's like really easy to like explain how timelessness transcends both of those because it's about time. And it's like it doesn't matter. Like none of being patient or impatient doesn't matter when you're in timelessness. When time doesn't exist as a construct, it's like you're in the present moment. Who cares?
That's
And it's like and it's aligning with like divine timing. Like when you are aligned in divine will, which is the 40. When you're aligned in divine will, timelessness also like kind of comes through. It's cool how like the cities like play into each other a little bit. Like how like if you're tapping into one city, there's probably like 6 other that are just like there in the background. Um yeah. One of the gifts I've been utilizing like a lot lately is my vocation. It's the 64. And I feel like it's something like I've always done in my life, but it's imagination. See, like using your imagination. I just like used to spend so much time in school just daydreaming, just like literally all day. I was like, this class is boring. I'm gonna go like think, you know.
yeah. Oh, most
Uh,
definitely.
but it's definitely one I've been using lately, and it's like I feel like it's such a powerful tool for manifestation. Because we can spend so much time thinking about the past. And usually when we think about the past, it's not always a good thing. Like we're like analyzing the past, like, oh, I could have done that differently, or oh, that was embarrassing, or that was, negative, or whatever it is. Like I think about the future, I don't worry about the future, because I have no control over it. I have no control over the past either. I guess that's maybe why, like, certain people feel anxiety and certain people don't, is like accepting that you don't really have control over that, which is sort of flashing in that timelessness city. But yeah, I've been using the 64 just lately, just trying to think about what could be, especially when it comes to this whole mutation process thing that's going to happen, or that's happening, and the way people are going to change and are changing. It's just cool to think about. There's like so much opportunity for growth and for all these things. It's cool.
Yeah, I like it a lot how they it talks about if you're born, from 1983 to 1995. I know I'm cutting a little short. I'm from 1980, but all that era, I think even from the 70s to the 90s. I talked to my girlfriend because I'm 1980, she's 1990. And I think like from 70s to 90s, those 20 years are probably the people that will change the world. Is from people that were born in the 70s up to the 90s, up to like 95, just before the 2000, I think.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
just,
91.
yeah, so I really think that I was telling my girlfriend that the other day, the hero's journey, where we were doing before I even saw this 2027 mutation. I'm like, what a time to be alive, because we're going to get to see when things were actually good, right? There was not so much processed food and obesity and diseases and everything. I mean, back in the 80s and 90s, it was amazing. Like cell phones barely coming out, the technology was pretty decent. But after 2000, it became so crazy. And I'm like, only these people from those 70 to 95 can really change the world, because we've seen how it used to be. We've seen how it is now, and we know where we want to go back to. So, and we're really creative. I think the era that we are on, I mean, look back in the 80s and the 90s, we didn't have that much available, so we could create so much more. I feel like, oh, there's no computers, no cell phones, none of that. So what do you really do? You're just really in nature, or you're drawing or imagining things and creating
Mhm.
your things. I feel like now I catch myself like in nature. Let's say if I'm in the backyard here and I'm looking in the grass, and then through looking through the grass, I start to daydream, like you're saying. I think that I'm like, wow, it's like a contemplation slash manifestation and slash imagining like things in the future, but with creation. And I was telling my girlfriend yesterday, I'm like, it's not that I'm looking through the grass and zoning out. I think the grass has the power to feed my brain into this creation. And I feel like with the grass. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Crazy,
yeah,
dude.
yeah, 100%. That's that's really tapping into be like nature and being in tune with nature. I love that.
So
That's such
cool.
a because we like that's taking that concept that we aren't separate from nature and just like riding it and like being a part of it, but not just like saying I am separate from nature, but like I work with nature and nature uh like gives me things and I give things to nature. So it's this like energy exchange with nature. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
Pretty cool. Yeah, there's a difference of like zoning out and thinking rather than getting lost within nature and imagining something that's happening. You still feel it. The cool thing is that you can look back of something that you did and feel the same way. Like, how is that possible? And it comes to show how it's ingrained in our DNA and feeling emotions. A lot of other things that I read here too about the cross
Hmm.
of Sleeping Phoenix, um, about our emotions. Oh, about our, brainstem, the reptilian brain, the thinking brain, and the emotional brain being the biggest to control and the hardest is our emotional limbic system, right? I
Mm.
was I was listening to a podcast between the Wim Hof, the Iceman, right? And hearing his story, because honestly though, I'm at the point of that, okay, I've been doing, I did the Brian's course and the breathing and the gentleness, and we're still going to the the sympathetic state, doing breath holds and learning away. I absolutely love everything. However, I'm very curious to see what if I can deliberately work my sympathetic nervous system, because I do cold exposure, I do the plunges, and I want to know a little bit more about Wim Hof, where he came from and why is he doing what he's doing, because I didn't even know who that guy is. So
Mm.
and it's very interesting because I want to explore that side of hyperventilation when the time is right. I'm not opposed to. And I understand that hyperventilation decreases CO2 and all the stress response that we know. But I'm curious, how is he helping millions of people? And that guy preaches that we can access and control 100% of our brain, including our emotional brain, which is the biggest and the hardest. So I'm just intrigued about everything. And
Mm.
this this Phoenix, Sleeping Phoenix thing here talks about a lot about the emotional brain, in the limbic system. And I'm really into that. Like, emotion is everything. There's nothing harder to deal with feeling the feelings, whether they're good or they're bad, or nobody wants to feel the pain. So there's something about that pain and suffering that I need to explore to actually explode,
Yeah.
I say.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah,
I'll
that's
let you.
interesting. So I've done my personal opinion around all of the Wim Hof stuff, all hyperventilation stuff. A lot of it is utilized in certain yogic breathing techniques, Kundalini breathing techniques. Um, when it comes to adding movement and like changing that and adding humming and adding all these different like mantras, it can be very powerful. I think if your breathing patterns are dysfunctional, if you have a low tolerance to carbon dioxide, don't do that stuff. However, if you do, it's your life. Go try it out. But also it can be healing in different ways. There's so many different ways to approach healing, and everybody's different, and everybody's not the same thing. The sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system states are essential for survival, both of them. So it's worth it to learn more about sympathetic if you don't know about it. I'm going to do a lot of research in the next couple of years about the nervous system myself, and Katie and I have been looking into it a lot lately too. I think that's, and it already is, like that's where healing will go. It's all going to be electric, bioelectric stuff. It's all going to be about the limbic center. It's all going to be about social interactions, like through the nervous system. The limbic center is like, I'm sure you've heard of flow ops and MoveMed, and they're all talking about the midline. The midline is the limbic center. They're talking about the limbic center. They're talking about how you react to stress on like subtle levels. So like how your muscles like hold tension when you feel certain things. When you feel stress, are they holding tensions or are they releasing? So it's like putting yourself, that whole system is about putting yourself in that tension and then breathing through it and working through it. But in the same way, like Brian's stuff does the same thing. In the same way, Kundalini probably does a lot of the same things. Like it's all these different, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. As long as you align with it and you feel it's good for you, that's that like placebo effect that's going to help you heal. Because there's this guy, Dr. Sanos, that talks about like what the modern medicine and doctors do to people when it comes to diagnostics and diagnosing illness. They'll say things like, you have to deal with this. You have this. So this is what you're dealing with the rest of your life. And this is it. You have to take this pill. There's no other solution. And you believe that.
Mhm.
Then you think about that and you believe that the rest of your life. And that's what you're gonna like. There's no option. There's no other way to think about it. And that puts like a stress on the mind.
They
It,
call nocebo, right? The placebo and nocebo.
yeah,
Right?
nocebo effect.
Yep,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yep.
remember. Yep,
Yeah.
I've heard
So
of that before.
it's like believing that you can't. And then you take that and you just kind of you just accept it. There's like acceptance around it, and it's not a good energy. It's
Mm.
a belief that you're not worthy of healing, or that you're not worthy of um, not feeling pain or not feeling something, uh, and it can go deep into the nervous system. So there's a lot that you can do in terms of mindset for the nervous system. There's a lot you can do to just train the nervous system on a daily basis to
Mm.
adapt to stress, but it's also it plays into social, it plays into emotional behaviors, it plays into everything. It is everything. Like the 12 cranial nerves cover all of it. Covers breathing, covers movement, covers all the nerves in your face when you're um, taking in information, and how you take in that information, how you absorb it, how you yeah, all of it. Um, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I believe that I mean, at the end of the day, breathing techniques and what you eat and what you do, I mean, what really matters is the state of mind, right?
Hmm.
Because nothing is more powerful than the power of the mind. It doesn't matter what you eat, and nothing really matters because everything revolves around stress. So the same thing, if I go to the doctor, there's like, okay, you have 6 months to live, you have cancer. One person's going to go home and be so depressed and, oh my God, I have cancer. I have 6 months to live. They're going to be so depressed, they're going to die within a month. And this other person has the same diagnosis and going to be like, 6 months to live. Fuck this. I'm going to do everything I want every day and live life the fullest. And they never die. I mean,
Yeah.
more proof to that your mind can heal you
Yeah.
because you're holding back, so I tell my clients a lot of that. Like I made a little vicious circle with like tension creates constriction, which creates over breathing, which creates overthinking, which creates stress. It's very simple to see it that way.
Constriction is the shadow of
you know
25 as well, which is all about acceptance and universal love.
Say that again, please.
Constriction
Fiction?
is the shadow of the 25, which is acceptance and universal
Okay.
love as a city. Yeah.
There you go. Denial creates tension, right? Not accepting something creates tension. Everything that we are not allowing, accepting, embracing creates tension. Now we can see it that way too. So I'm like, okay, if you are relaxed, just scan your body, because I used to scan my body a lot to see how am I breathing. But I'm like, I scan my body every day, like, where am I holding tension? Out
Hmm.
of nowhere. I can be talking to you here, and I'm like, wait, I can still talk and relax your anus, right? It's always like you're like, we always tension up. And I was like, okay, so relaxation creates dilation, which creates a better flow. You breathe slower, lighter, and you are at peace instead of stressing, so in your thoughts will calm down with, you relax, you breathe slower, you breathe lighter, and you think less, and you're at peace. It's just the complete opposite of the other circle. So it's not that hard just to bring awareness to, you know with everything now, like how fast am I speaking with others, or choosing my words, like, am I gonna make that person, I think about a lot about you because I know you have the provocation gate, and that's all about provocation on this 2027 coming up, the
Oh,
mutation.
wait, which
Yeah,
one?
provocation. I'm like, that's sometimes we say things that challenges people, but in a good way. And that could be a sort of
Mm,
provocation, like, oh, you just planted a seed there. That's in somewhat like a way to kind of provoke a thought on someone. And yeah, I think what you said earlier about oh shit, what were you talking about? Oh, I forgot, but anyways, that's
yeah,
okay.
yeah. I want to go back
Power
to.
of the mind. I said, okay, the stress.
Mm,
Like, I believe that if there's one task to be solved in 1,000 people and everybody's going to do it differently and you're going to get to the same outcome, that's the same with training your nervous system. Some people want to do cold exposure, and that's okay. Some people want to do breath holds. Maybe breath holds is not for everybody. Just the same as cold plunge, just the same as um, closing your eyes in the middle of a chaos and see if you can stay at peace for 5 minutes. That's a type of stress response. Or
mhm.
I think at the end of the day, I go with the dose and duration. To be hormetic is where it's at. It doesn't matter what you do. If breath holds is hormetic and it's going to help my nervous system, and also the cold plunge can be done. What if I marry both? I do the breathing and the cold plunge, and it was like, whoa.
Yeah,
So we can just kind of play
biostacking.
around.
Yeah.
And yeah. I wanted to do cold swimming in the future, and I've been watching a lot of the podcasts with the PhD doctor that talked in the oxygen advantage as well. What's her name? She's from Denmark. She's Danish. Yeah, she's really good doctor. And
Huh.
she's the one that talks a lot about the brown fat, and cold exposure.
Mm.
And
Oh, are you talking about breathing with Georgia?
I think her name is Burr. I forgot her name,
She's
but
like the if is it the female breathing or is it
it's
somebody
it's a
else?
female. Yeah, it is a female lady. She's here on. She did a podcast with Andrew Huberman right
Okay,
now as well. Her name is I forgot her name, but she's a PhD lady.
cool.
Anyways, she's really, really good because she has been studying a lot about the brown fat. But I honestly can tell you, as soon as I get into the water, and you only need about 1 to 2 minutes, you don't have to be freezing at a zero temperature for minutes and minutes. It's just enough. They also say that cold is a survival mode, just like holding your breath and the feeling of suffocation. It's a primordial, survival. The cold is the same, like how your body takes that. You just, it wakes you up, or makes you feel alive. But what she was saying is that, I mean, brown fat, I've been kind of getting a little bit more into the brown fat and studying that,
Mhm.
being like an organ and your temperature receptors. But I can feel my body generating heat while you're in the cold water and feel warm in the cold, which is really cool. I started to pay attention on that.
Yeah,
And because I'm breathing really subtle and very light, and I can see all the body reactions. So anyways, all this to say that whatever stress you're putting in your body, just be aware of the dose and the duration, and just go slow, be gentle with
yeah.
everything. Gentleness and tenderness.
I want to bring it back to you said some stuff about like stress and diet recently, and like how it doesn't almost doesn't matter what you eat. And there's a guy, a famous guy named Ray Peat, who has a whole system, and he's done a lot of research onto like metabolism and how sugar and like stress are linked to like so many different diseases. And he talks specifically about like how like stress influences it more than the actual stuff that you're eating. And so like you can if you don't have stress, you can't eat sugar. Or like and then he'll compare like different diets and like what that does to the metabolism and like why you can't have sugar with certain diets or like whatever. But it was kind of going back to I even made a reel about it about how like when you think or say things out loud, it takes energy. takes energy for your body to produce those electrical signals that create those thoughts or those words. And so that creation of those things has a metabolic waste, and that metabolic waste can impact your the hertz in your body, so the rhythm of your heartbeat, the like the heart oscillations. It can affect your pH. It can affect like all these different things in your body, and the frequency of those emotions and thoughts produces different amounts of metabolic waste. So like negative frequency thoughts produce like, so like if you're stressed all the time, it's going to have more metabolic waste for your organs and your body to like try and get rid of. So it's like, it's literally like you can think yourself into sickness and stress and like overload your body with like too much biological waste that it like can't get rid of. It doesn't have the metabolism or the thought process. It's like, and it's going back into that like the whole like light versus dark thing, where it's like the light is the absence of darkness, and darkness is the thoughts, it's the heaviness, it's the metabolic biological waste, and the light is just less of that, if nothing at all. You know, like when we're in states of bliss or states of all that stuff where we have not putting any stress on our nervous system at all, any stress on our organs at all, because there's no waste. It's just like clean and dissolves into nothing. Yeah.
Okay.
So like the whole there's a lot about Ray Peat that talks about like amazing things, and he talks about the diet. There's another Instagram called Cows Eat Grass blog. It talks a lot about sugar, talks a lot about how, and like Anthony's been talking about this too online, Anthony Manuel. He's been talking about how like you'll see him just dumping sugar into coffee.
I see.
It's like, what's he doing
Just,
there?
yeah, when he did the 30-day thing.
Yeah, I did a little bit of research into it. I haven't bought any of the books yet, but it like the idea is that if you have good metabolic rate and you don't have stress in your life, or you have like certain amounts of stress that are good, hormetic stress, and you have a balanced nervous system between your sympathetic and parasympathetic, then you can metabolize sugar at a faster rate and use that sugar for energy. Where it's like if somebody's depressed and angry and, you know, drinks a coffee with, you know, 18 sugars in it, they're not going to metabolize that, and it's going to go into their tissues and just like kind of get oxidized and become fat, or like slow them down. Yeah.
And it's so crazy. I think, like you said, I think I've seen an experiment too that it was through animals. I don't know who posted, maybe you, I don't even know. But so there's 2 cages with, I think it's just rats, let's just say, and they fed the exact same diet. But when I'm giving the food to the rats, I'm pissed.
Yeah.
And then with this one, I'm like, hey, here's the food. I love you so much. And the rats got sick and these didn't get sick.
Yeah.
Like, things like that. And I'd say, I mean, it's pretty simple, right? If a person is eating a healthy salad, whatever that means, right? But they're overbreeding and they're on their phone and they're thinking that salad, you're not going to digest that salad, and you're still going to release a lot of cortisol and not digest efficiently. And if there's this person that's eating a pizza, which is the completely opposite, right? But they're at the park eating a pizza, they're loving their pizza, they're in just this loving state of mind, looking at the tree, and they have their pet, and they're just super feeling amazing. I mean, that pizza is not going to affect them as much as the salad will implicate their digestion, because that's just my belief nowadays. Of course, I'd rather eat lighter foods. I feel better with lighter food than denser foods. And I still think that when I'm not eating something that's considered healthy, I subconsciously struggle with the regrets right away. I mean, I'm still not healed with emotional eating. I know it. Because I wake up and the first thing that's in my mind, I'm like, oh, darn, why did I eat that? Why did I eat that much? Why did I eat at that time? I didn't come to terms with that choice. Not all the times, but it happens. So at the end of the day, if you're breathing fast and hard and upper chest, you're not activating your digest and relax. And so no matter what you eat, the goal is to just chew slowly, breathe slowly, and take your time with that food, right? And that's gonna help you activate your parasympathetic, relax and digest, is you're gonna feel better about it. But anyways, that the name of that lady, that it's Dr. Susanna Suberg. Susanna Suberg. She's also in the OA podcast. She just wrote a book. It's called Winter Swimming, and she's an expert with the brown fat production and activation in Scandinavians, doing hot and cold and all kinds of research. It's pretty cool though. I really like it.
Mm.
She's awesome.
Peter, how are you doing? Do you
I'm
want to
done.
add anything?
I'm good. Just really diving into this. Well, I won't say diving into it, but what really has got me thinking and contemplating more than ever is the third trimester, the 14 through 21 years old on the
Mm.
Venus, and just really getting into the connecting to all the, past memories, people, and just really thinking about them in a broad, kind of expansive, encompassing of what it felt like then, like recalling the feelings of those relationships and interactions, or just events in my life. And then I'm starting to have dreams that I'm remembering briefly when I wake up.
Wow.
Yeah, it's they're really like deeply connecting. I won't say aha moments yet, but
Mhm.
they're like right when I wake up, a lot of things make sense, and then like most dreams, everything kind of vanishes. As a matter of fact, I was gonna do a quick random talking video on it for myself, and as soon as I hit record, it all vanished. And I had been holding on to these like 3 or 4 things for like all morning, and as soon as I hit the record button, I'm like, it's a funny video because I'm like, okay, it's gone.
Yeah.
But so for me, uh I went to the 40th. Interesting you talked about the 40th, and what we're talking about here today, or what you guys are mentioning about, everybody's different, and then the food. It's energy over force in the 40th. When you're
Mm.
fortunate, the 40th is I'm 40.1 on that, on
Yep.
my and it's my IQ. So, and the um 14 to 21 range in that Venus says, pay attention to the IQ, whatever it is, whatever gene key that is, pay attention to that. And I have read it before along with the 37th. And it's been really powerful. So I've been there for a couple days. And it's just, I'm probably going to stay here for a little bit, because this is a part of my life when I was just super independent, and I was forming what I was going to do. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was just working full time in the grocery business, and had roommates, and wasn't in school yet. I think I tried some community college and just kind of fell out after a couple quarters earlier in my like 18, 19 years old. But I didn't go back to start school till like 25. So
Mm.
it's kind of hit just kind of how I just kind of floated through life. And, of course, we recognize all these patterns. So when you guys were talking about the Wim Hof, and when people choose certain things, if they happen to choose the Wim Hof, like, well, maybe at that time that person needs to, like, they don't know it because they're maybe haven't done the gene keys or whatever, but they're wanting that mind, they're wanting that IQ of that trimester, and they're like gravitate towards, I want to do something that challenges my mind. Like in their mind, they're going, I want to challenge my mind. And like to sit in cold water is pretty tough, you know, when it's the ice cold. And then, you know, within that, you know, any kind of cold exposure is good for sure. Even just in the shower, gradually taking the water down, gradually as you're finishing your shower, and then you know, letting it hit your armpits, and then letting it hit your spine, you know, and then it hit your like genitals, and then like your inner thighs, you know.
All the spots that suck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, you know, like if you gradually pull it down. I remember my naturopath years ago mentioned that, like, hey, you know, cold exposure, all you have to do is 30 seconds at the coldest that you can do for 30 seconds at the end of your shower. Just gradually take it down, and then when you get there, just, you know, stay there over your head and just get the water over you. So I got to thinking about that. So I was really interactive with you guys while you guys were talking. It was super interesting, and yeah, I didn't know if I had much energy to really talk about the stuff that's going on and the connection. I mean, it's really cool just to hear your guys' take on what you're interested in. This is nice, really nice. And again, I always like sharing, you know, personal things. It's awesome, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for
Thank you
sharing.
both.
It's cool. Yeah, it's a good place to kind of like stop and chill at the IQ and just like let it absorb. It's funny, I've also been thinking about the IQ a lot lately, and just all the different lines. It's so interesting how it like shows up. And now it's given me like a little bit of perspective on like why certain people react in certain ways to that, like in like either defensively or, you know, like in a productive way, why they ask certain questions, etc. I haven't been thinking about too much about the 14 to 21. Feels like that part of my life was like, I don't remember a lot of it. I remember, no, it's not that I don't remember a lot of it. It's nothing like,
I feel you.
I'm trying to think of like how my mind was at that time, but it seemed very busy. It seemed like not, I don't remember how my mind was working. I was in school in high school, like I don't remember, and in college, it was like a lot of learning about different things, a lot about expanding my mind in that way, but like not like I've expanded my mind in the past 3 or 4 years. I feel like I've learned more in the last 3 or 4 years than I've learned in my entire life. Just, but maybe I think so. Actually, now that I'm thinking back on it, one of the biggest things I learned in college was like social interaction. I like learned how to debate, like on a higher level, like learning and understanding what I don't know and accepting that, and then like being able to debate somebody, like truly, with all the information and knowledge in my brain. But it was like it took a while to get there. It took like 2 or 3 years of college to get there because I think I was like very immature at that point and like didn't want to even have those conversations. Was like sort of scared of debating people and having like constructive arguments. And now I don't mind it, like a little bit of a challenge. Like if you know something more than me, I'm here to find out. I'm here to like understand what the purpose is. And it's funny because like now if somebody challenges me, my buddy Matt's gonna join us too right now. Nice. if somebody challenges me and I know a lot about the information, I'll defend myself. And it happened recently online. Like I was commenting on a post. What's up, Matt? I was commenting on a post about carbon dioxide, and some random guy who has 80 followers and not posted anything started arguing with me. And I was like, who is this guy? Like, what is your deal? Um, but I was like, sort of like, why? I want to know why I'm wrong. I don't care. I don't care what you think about me. And he definitely had some thoughts about me. He was like, you don't understand biochemistry. I'm like, I don't care what you think. And, and eventually I got him to tell me what exactly I said was wrong, but it wasn't the concept around like my original post wasn't wrong. It was like one of the terms I used to describe the chemical reaction was wrong. So it wasn't like carbon dioxide as a catalyst, it's called something else because a catalyst changes the metabolic rate, whereas the other type of chemical reaction doesn't change the actual structures of the cells or the types of proteins in the reaction or the environment. So it's just like it took like 4 or 5 back and forths of me just being like screw you, I know what I'm talking about. But it was funny because like, what's that, Peter?
Like I say, you like clarifying. You got to the clarification, then it all evened out. But like
Yeah.
you were bending of like calmly and intently going, okay, I'm gonna pick my spot here.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like beforehand, if I like, during that 7-year cycle between 14 and 21, if I were to have this conversation, I would have backed down immediately. I wouldn't have like had the guts or like I don't know, like the confidence in my intelligence to be able to like have that full conversation. So I think like that's one of the biggest things that I learned in that year, like how I evolved through that. But yeah, so Matt, we're talking about we're going through the Venus sequence, and this is like the third or fourth week, and we're going through the IQ right now. And we've been talking about it for the last IQ one. So I think do I have I might have.
I see mine's 35.6.
You're the 6? You have a 6 in your
35.6, yeah.
Cool. So I'll go through the lines really quickly.
Cool.
We did this a little bit last week, but they're fun, and it's like
they are super interesting.
It's wild to we had a 1, a 2, no, we had a 1, a contemplative mind, 1, a 2, a 3, a 5 in the conversation last week, and it was like watching it play out was really funny. Peter is the 1, so he's the contemplative mind, so he's just over there contemplating the whole thing. And it's interesting. Yeah, to hear that and to see that we were talking about something funny, and all of a sudden Peter goes, have you ever heard the term nowhere? Now here, and then we're all like, what?
Now here, that's funny.
When was that? Because I just said that 2 weeks ago. I was reading something like nowhere, and I told my girlfriend, you see, now here, it's completely the opposite of nowhere, and it's spelled the same 2 weeks ago, but it wasn't in this call. Yeah,
that's crazy.
So crazy.
Yeah, middle of nowhere is now here.
Nowhere it spells together, now here. I'm like,
that's so funny. I think that's when you got off, Michelle. Like, I think you left at some point, and we stayed on for like another 20 or 30. So yeah. And then the second line is the brilliant mind, or the provocative. Like each one has a shadow, and the shadows show up obviously in like a negative space, or like a lot of times, like when you're growing up, they show up in like childhood behaviors. So like hidden was the contemplative mind, so you go hide. You just don't want to talk to anybody. You don't want to. You just want to go contemplate. So you find your space. The provocative one is like the one that needs to know why, and that asks the parents like, like what the heck is going on here, and the parents like wrongly, ground the kid.
Yeah,
it's like that happens a lot with the line 2. they're like, yo, you're wrong. And then it's like, no, you're wrong because I said you're wrong. And you're like, that doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense. I
Yeah.
don't like this.
Yeah.
Um,
Can I get a reason?
yeah. But the line two is all about the brilliant mind, which is like making the quantum leap connections. And it was really funny because I literally made like we were talking about le- how like we want to live in the future and how like the Gene Keys in human design is the future, but like how do we bring the future to us? We literally just have to start living in it now, and that's like the paradox of. I was like just making this like,
Yeah.
like that's how my mind kind of works.
Yeah.
Um, Michelle's is the three, the really flexible mind, really like flexible but also evasive, like very here and
Mm.
there, trying things out, and like kind of has like awareness around
Yeah.
their ability to be flexible within their mind. They can, take multiple stances on things. The fourth line is the influential mind, and this one is all about like narrow focused, like straight path, like let me pick something and devote my time and energy to it and be like solidified in it. That's why you see it's like go
Is
ahead.
four normally like that in like multiple different areas where four is like kind of singular focused?
Kind of, but not necessarily. Like all of
Yeah.
the lines have such a different nuance for every
Yeah.
key.
Yeah.
When it comes to the lines, like in the activation sequence, I think they play a different kind of role. It's more like the one is the creator, two is the dancer, like the archetype of the dancer plays with the one. The three is the trial and error. So like I guess it could be
Change,
kind of
experiment.
flexible.
Yeah.
The four takes things to the like bigger groups, like families, the bigger fractal tribes. Fives take that idea and go to the society, and then the six is like sitting on the roof. The six is always like has all of the lines, but like sees it from like a bird's eye view. But the influential mind is like this one's all about the mind. So it's like really going into the IQ and how the mind picks things apart and how the mind like works in that
Okay.
person's brain, how their thought patterns like form. And then how it like manifests into their life and their lifestyle. And like what you see a lot of line fours are, or like, somebody who's been in the real estate market and like game for 50 years and they didn't do anything else. Like, it's like very like, and they got really good at it because of that. But it's also in a way that shadow is inflexible. They can't, they're the opposite of
Do
the
anything
three. They're
else.
not, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the five is the practical mind, like just defensive, needs to know how can I bring this into reality? What can I do? What are the easy steps that I can actually take and put into my life? And it's funny because Jordan was on the call last week. He's very he loves to play like devil's advocate. He's like, yeah, I need to know why. I need you to explain it like I'm 5 years old, and make it easy, make it simple, make it understandable. And Katie's also a line five, and she definitely has a very practical mind. She's like, I want to make this practical. I want to do things very like full and aligned. Yeah.
In my life's purpose or life's work and evolution, I'm a five, so I resonate with that one for sure. Like, just fucking what it is. And like I'm like, I have an issue with like doing things, and I'm like, this is just like a waste of time. Like if I do this, like it'll be less work. Like why do I have to do it the hard way? Like, and I'm always just like, why do I like? I'm always asking that.
And then the last is the sixth line, which is the objective mind, and this is all about like not having thoughts and ideas around certain things, being able to be objective about your environment. So not like objective minds are usually the ones that are like maybe not aligned with certain things, aligned with left or right side of the aisle, or like they're very kind of middle of the aisle type on any issue. It doesn't have to be politics, but like any issue, they're like, yeah, I don't really care about this. This doesn't really this is like whatever. But in the same way, they can be very absent. That's the shadows. They're like, I don't want to be involved.
I don't give a shit.
Make a difference. But they said something really cool about the sixes. You said you're six, right?
Yeah.
Hold on. It says you may live many lives within a single life. It's a very silent mind, hallmark of a truly enlightened mind. Designed to surf the mental plane without agenda, basically. Yeah. Yeah, it can be sort of a drawn out process though. Some people don't like align with the sixth mind because of that. Like it gets they're like, yeah, you're too objective. Decision.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and then we're going into the pathway of intelligence. So the IQ connects to the EQ next. And that one that was we've been going a little fast on this, so we're taking our time. So we've just this past week, everybody's just reading the pathway of intelligence, which is just a few pages. And that one's cool. We actually haven't even talked about that yet, but they mentioned a couple, like two things that were like super important. One is the Eden loop, and the other is the art of joining. So it was understanding that in any relationship, they like that relationship can provoke an emotional response, and it's up to the mind and the emotional sphere, the EQ, how you
respond.
Let those patterns, let or not let those like not kid like, but like the patterning in your body, in your mind, in your family, like come out in a shadow way. So it's like understanding that when like you're in that relationship with anybody, when you're having a relationship with anybody, whether it's a friendship, a lover, even just somebody walking by, there's like this interaction that happens where you don't want to, you can get triggered, but it's how you respond to that trigger that allows you to like have an open heart and open communication, open just style of reacting. So they give like a scenario of reacting and joining, like the art of joining. And it's like when basically the concept that you really only do need one person to change the relationship and to change the dynamic of the relationship. It really only takes the effort of one person. Because if somebody's like, I need you to do the dishes, I always do the dishes, nobody, like, I'm so stressed, I don't want to do the dishes right now, I've been doing dishes my entire life, this is annoying. And then you're like, okay, I'll help you do the dishes right now. Instead of saying, no, I do the dishes too. What do you like? I do the dishes all the time. Like whatever it is, you're not fighting. You're like, accept that. And then later you come back and say, hey, I actually do the dishes quite often. Like I understand you're feeling a little bit of stress, but do understand that I think about the dishes too, and I do the dishes type thing. And it's like having that, like just stopping it, not
continuing the drama.
Yeah, letting it kind of hit ground zero, 0 point energy, like let it nullify.
Neutralize. Yeah.
And then coming back and just being like, yeah, I do dishes too. And I didn't like how you talked about that. And then the other person was like, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I was a little too,
you do that.
I was a little too crazy. I've been stressed. It didn't come out the way I wanted it to, it expressed itself in whatever way. So it's, yeah, so that's like
very interesting.
Yeah. And
question.
Yeah. Sorry, Peter, go again. I think you're breaking up a little. Yeah, maybe type it.
I thought I had a space.
Hold on. Try typing it, Peter. You're breaking up a little.
Didn't there jump in. I hope I didn't cut you off.
No, you're good.
How's that?
Yeah, that's better. We can.
I didn't know if I cut you off. Good.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we're kind of talking about like the wounds then. Is it the Sanskrits?
Sanskara? I think it's
Sanskara.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's kind of like where conflicts happen is both parties are going through a wound, which are bumping up against. Ah, shit. Sorry, man. That's all. I was glad I got that out, though.
Yeah.
That's kind of like when the wounds are matching up and bumping up against each other. Ah, shit. Okay.
No, we got it. Yeah. No,
I'll
you're good.
type it.
You're funny. We got
I
the
did get it.
ones.
Yeah. No, we got it. Yeah, Peter.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, the wounds,
All right.
the wounds take over. It's the shadows coming out and they just feel defensive, and it's
Yeah.
like it's crazy because emotional intelligence is just, I just feel like, I personally feel like I don't have emotional intelligence. I mean, I'm trying, for sure, but it's definitely something that I need to practice, and it's
Yeah.
really hard because the emotions just take over the mind. Like it's, especially in the moment, you're like,
Yeah.
how dare they tell me I need to do the dishes again? Like, what the
Yeah.
fuck? I do the
Yeah.
dishes all the time. And like, like, somebody will tell me that, like, do the dishes, you never do the dishes. And then I'll sit there, I'll do the dishes. I'll tell them, oh, I'm going to help you do the dishes. And the whole time I'm doing the dishes, I'm like, I do the dishes all the time. Like, it's like, but then I like, I'll take my, like, I don't let that out because that's like, the mind like has to, I don't know, churn or like do its
Yeah.
thing. And I like have to let it, like,
Do
let
its
the
thing.
emotions settle before I like actually respond to it. And I think it's that, like, a little bit of that like filter. That's like maybe what emotional intelligence is like a little bit of a filter between you just blurting out what's happening in your mind as you're going through all of that, and like actually like saying what you mean, what your higher self means. So letting it like calm down, letting the voices just say what they need to say and just chill and just soften eventually, because they'll get tired and bored.
That buffer that we talk about with breath holds, right? That buffering, like just having the little buffer. That word buffer became so important in my life, especially when I started the breath holds and stuff, like having that buffer, even if it's 3 to 5 seconds to not react, can change everything. Like
Mhm.
the buffer is just, it's when you're, don't say what you're thinking, just like swallow,
Yeah.
and then you change your mind at that, at that swallow, you're like, let me just swallow what I was gonna say, and then I'll say something else. It's just a little buffer, it's crazy. Yeah.
I think the I feel like the mind is like the IQ is, or like the mind and the way the mind works is like a little child, and it's got no filter. And that's why, like, when you see a kid having a tantrum, sometimes you just need to let it have a tantrum and let it tire itself out until it literally just naps. And that's like how the mind kind of works. Like, you have to let it do its thing and just like go tire yourself out. Like, go yell in another corner or whatever. And then like eventually it'll tire itself out. It'll like come to you and just be like, hey, can you
You're basically cleaning yourself out. It cleanses it out as you
Yeah.
scream and you go and you try, and then you're like, okay, I'm empty now, like I'm ready.
Mhm.
Basically, I remember that for sure.
So it'll be curious to get into. I'm curious when now that we're like talking about the emotional intelligence, what it could be and what it what it might seem like in this context, in the context of the gene keys. Like, what is it actually going to say in the next chapter? So that'll be interesting to read for sure.
Yeah.
I got into like the first couple pages a little bit just because I didn't realize I was still reading it. But it did talk about the 55th gene key and the emotionals, like the emotions going into the solar plexus, and that being our center, that being how we operate. I thought that, yeah, that's cool. So I'll have to brush up on that video that Katie put in the Discord too. Or not the Discord, the Telegram. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about here about the third 7-year cycle, 14 to 21st. And you were saying how you were in high school and you kind of remember, but don't. And I'm thinking here that was a huge leap of the 7th year cycle for me, because I was 14 and there was a lot of I started playing, piano from 9 to 14. So at 14, when I knew how to play piano, I was playing church. There was a lot of like trauma from church, like I mentioned before, because I play sports and I had to go to church and wear skirts and play organ with the white veil. I mean, I'm Christian evangelist, so very strict.
Mhm.
Like my grandpa was a pastor, so the age of 14 that I was like, you know what? I love playing the organ and singing the hymns. I love music. It brings me a lot of joy. But at the same time, I'm trying to break free from this pressure of having to follow a certain standard of what I'm wearing. And I just want to be free. And also, I was getting to knowing I guess, my sexuality and liking girls at that time, until I was 18 and finishing high school. And I moved to US when I was 20, almost 21. So I know that 14 to 21, so much happened of me being independent. I moved to US, I was 20, I turned 21 3 months later. So it was on the verge of me deciding like, oh, I was 18, I had my first girlfriend. Oh my God, that's so wrong. I'm gonna be in hell because the Bible says that. And I had to hide the relationship. And then it was a crazy relationship. And I'm like, I don't want to be here. I want to learn another language. I want to learn English. I want to just move to US and be myself. And so all that happened on the age of 14 in
Wow.
high school, and being playful and going to church and having a relationship with another girl, and then my family, and then me wanting to just move to another country. I'm like, I'm done. I'm just gonna hide, but it's not hiding. It's more like, I want to break free from you guys. I'm out. So I just bought my ticket and I came in with $300 without learning the language. I'm like, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm gonna learn English
Wow.
and survive. So I kind of put myself into that mode.
Wow.
And then I turned 21 when I was here. But
Mhm.
it's pretty crazy though. It was a really good year of being independent, I guess, and just doing my own thing and not listening to anybody else telling me what to do. Because when you're at home living with your parents, you still gotta respect what they say, because I'm not paying my bills. I'm still living there. So yeah.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I was
That's
20.
amazing story.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. That's cool.
yeah, thank you. I think from 7 to 14 was actually really, really good time of my life. But does anybody remember is there a 0 to 7 cycle, right?
Yeah.
How was that
That's
cycle?
that's the
Like
spiritual quotient, and that's Katie was telling me a little bit about that.
a
That's
deep one.
that one. There's no shadow.
Really?
No
Hmm.
shadow. You can't have a
Oh.
shadow in your spirit.
Whoa.
Mhm.
And we all hear like deep, like, whoa, that's a
Yeah.
hard one to remember. And I don't know how much access we have within the 0 and 7, but that's what Wim Hof was saying about those type of releases you can remember when you were really young. Like,
Mm.
I have a lot of memories of those ages, 0 to 7.
I don't think I remember much, to be honest.
I mean, I don't remember. I feel like from like 4 to 7, I start remembering things, but from 0 to 4, like I don't remember anything other than like stories being told,
Mm.
or I don't remember much.
It's more of like an energy almost that I
Well, I'm
remember.
sure it's
Like not
playful.
necessarily like specific memories, but I remember like how the house felt
Hmm.
when I was in it, or like how my siblings felt next to me,
Hmm.
or like things like that. But yeah, the years 7 to 13 or whatever are like I remember a lot of that too.
Mhm.
Um,
Those are the best years ever, man.
not necessarily not for me.
True, true,
Yeah.
true, true. I'm sorry.
That
I was
was
speaking for myself.
I actually
Yeah.
had just like when I was 10 years old, I had gotten diagnosed with like the thyroid, hypothyroidism. So I was like, it was interesting because I was like depressed as a 10-year-old.
That is crazy.
Wow, man. That's
happening.
crazy.
It was weird. Not to say that I didn't like enjoy my life. I never like even within the depression that I've had in my life. I've had it a couple times. I know what it feels like. I've always felt like this underlying, like this isn't permanent, or this isn't me, or this isn't like, I don't know. I just knew it wasn't. It was just a part of me. Peter was leaving. Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious to see. Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading a little bit more about the EQ. Um, but yeah, Matt, definitely worth reading even the full thing, start at
Yeah.
the beginning, because there's the lines within the purpose and the attraction sphere, and the attraction sphere is huge.
So I've been doing I bought a Gene Keys course, and it basically goes through all of the different like line numbers. And so I just went through like attraction like yesterday.
Nice.
And it is interesting. And I was just like
Which line are you in the?
I'm line 4.
Okay, same. Yeah.
And it was interesting because when I did a breathwork session with someone, and after he was just like, oh, I just felt like a nice like warmth and like welcoming, and I was just like, oh, that's really interesting. And then but reading the lust one was so interesting to me. I learned so much, and I'm like, oh, so guilty of that. Like,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh,
Yeah,
no
like
wonder. I was like, no wonder. I am not trying to be a 4.
Yep.
The
Yeah,
attraction. Wow. Yeah, it's crazy. And the only line 6 I have is the attraction
Yeah.
from interesting. Agitation, initiative, and awakening. I can definitely relate to this shadow of agitation. At one point of my life, I'm just probably like, how come no one's feeling what I'm feeling? This is so clear. Like, how come you guys are not, seeing this? And I guess the awakening is the opposite, the polarity of the agitation, and
Yeah.
it makes sense. Like, it's crazy, man. Agitation.
yeah.
And I definitely see like relationships where I got frigid, and I'm like, what practices or things have you like learned about like reopening your heart? Because I'm like, that's definitely fucking close.
Yeah. That's a great question. I think it has to do for me personally, like a lot of self-love in terms of like not like when I think of self-love, it's not, the things that are soothing me in the moment. It's the doing the hard disciplined things that are gonna make me feel better like down the line.
Yeah.
Like becoming more confident in my body by working out.
Yeah. Got
You know,
that down.
yeah. But also like I think there's definitely a whole thing about being comfortable in my own sexuality and then becoming more comfortable with the opposite sex, or just with, doesn't have to be the opposite sex, Michelle. Like, becoming comfortable in that space, like where I'm trying to not try.
Yeah.
But I think Katie has a lot of really good ways to tap into the heart. And I think there's something that like she does like a heart opening practice where she'll take an intention and a pure thought and like hold it in her heart, like physically hold that in the space in her heart, in her chest cavity, and just hold it there. And in the same way that our like nervous system like adapts over time, when we just like keep ourselves in a place that's we're not maybe comfortable with, it'll like adapt. And so it's like waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting until you start to actually feel that thought in your heart, like sort of wash over you.
I like both of those.
Yeah, so you can just kind of do it like for a specific meditation. You can do it during your other meditations. You can do it while you're driving. Like it's like one of those things you can like think about and just do
anytime. Yeah.
And like she'll like over the summer she would like go sit outside and have like a thing across her eyes, and she would just like for like 30 minutes, and I'm like, what is she doing out there? But then, like she's like, I'm opening my heart. I'm like, okay, cool.
Okay, good job. Nice.
Yeah, good job.
I'm not gonna tell you not to do that.
Yeah, no, of course. um,
It's funny.
but yeah, I think
What is she doing?
yeah, she's got her head over. I guess she's doing that heart thing again. Cool. um, but yeah, I'll have to ask her. Maybe there's some other things she can share about that. But I know it's definitely hard. It can be hard.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to do with the mind and how that's why the IQ attaches to the EQ, pathway of
Mm.
intelligence. Like we
Mm.
have these
Mm.
programming in our mind and how we speak about ourselves. And I literally just made a video about this the other day. One way that allows you to kind of like get out of the shadow of your emotions is to create it's called disassociation, and it's using language. So it's using a specific language to create this
Space, the buffer.
Yeah. So like what I've explained it even in here in the past is I worked with like another healing coach like when I first started my health journey, and he did like heart mind integration. So like learning about how the heart and the mind work, and the way he described it is your mind and your ego are not just like, you don't just have one ego, you have this like massive spoke with like this wheel with all these different spokes coming out of it, and the spokes are different. They're either dark or light, or some of them are gray, whatever.
Yeah.
They're dark or light, and the dark ones are loud and long and like extend further. Light ones are shorter, softer, quieter. But the way that you think about the mind, the ego is separated into all of these different ones, and the light is sort of like the higher self.
Yeah.
And that's the really like, there's really only kind of not as many of those, and that's why they're like, you think of the higher self, it's just like one self. The ego is like separated into all these different things. We have all these different emotions for all these different egos. Once we create that separation, we can say, oh, it's not me that's feeling sad, it's a part of me, it's just one of my spokes. Literally by the second you say a part of me, like try it next time.
That's so interesting.
Like in the moment when you say, oh, I'm freaking tired, no, a part of you tired. Well, you actually might be tired. That's not a good example, but like not happy with this decision. A part of me isn't happy with this decision. The second you say it, the second you think it, it'll start to create like a shift in your emotions. So it's like a way to kind of work with, if you can't get into a heart space, to just create that separation. And then like it's like kind of like free will, choosing which emotions, which spokes you want to let take over the conversation in your brain, kind of.
Yeah.
So those are probably like three different ways to open the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you guys have any or like want to add or like have used any of those.
I mean, I've definitely used like Qigong before, and I feel like that does work. What else have I used? I've used tapping, and I've noticed that can like do you guys know about tap? Yeah. Yeah. And there's like 9 points, and I've definitely like been like, I feel better now. Nice.
Yeah.
What else worked for me?
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm sure there's a million ways to
yeah.
Like we were talking about the nervous system earlier, and how there's like a million different ways to train it and to down regulate and to up regulate, and to like everybody to do, because that's why so many people do ice baths and so many people don't. So many people do, wake up at the sun. Some people don't, whatever works. Yeah.
I also think it's so interesting how like we've kept that like part of the human process, that like there's people who sleep in different like processes, because like it was always advantageous to like have more people like a watch, like if you're talking about like ancestral times. And so it's interesting that like we didn't ever like get rid of that part to a point where we're like, oh no, we sleep with the sun. Like that just seems like a natural I mean, I guess that is the median
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's interesting because I say yes and no to that concept about, and there's two reasons. Because when we think about, hunter gatherers and stuff, yes, they had to take turns watching in the
yeah,
middle of the night, 3 hours at a time or whatever. But they also like could take naps in the
yeah,
middle of the
yeah.
afternoon. So
I
it's
agree with that as well.
like we've sort of kept this
One part.
maybe useful to us in the past, and even before, like electricity and technology, people would wake up in the middle of the night and then just like write by candlelight, or like have like amazing epiphanies like in the middle of the night. Like that was like a thing.
Hmm.
And so like that's like, I agree that that's possible, but I think that there's people aren't utilizing it correctly. And like I think that most people don't have access to a normal circadian rhythm,
Yeah.
because of light and work and stress and all this different stuff. So that's why I say yes and no to that.
Like define normal circadian rhythm these days
Yeah.
because it could be so unique, right? Like you said, I
Well,
think
it's waking up when the sun comes up and going to bed when the sun
sure.
goes down.
Yeah, I think a lot of the natural things, the hunter gatherers, our ancestors, I mean, we're only here because of our ancestors, right? And also there's a lot of things that our ancestors couldn't resolve back then that we are here now to do that, because now we have what it takes, awareness and wisdom, and then a lot of things that we lost is because we just got too comfortable of being comfortable, like a code exposure. I mean, it doesn't have to be at a certain time in a certain degree. You just have to shock your body and get out of the comfortable. It doesn't matter if you just have to be uncomfortable to actually grow. It doesn't matter, like breath holds, right? 3-minute breath hold or 30 seconds, it doesn't matter. It's putting yourself in that position of being uncomfortable for the duration that you can be uncomfortable without stressing yourself.
Hmm.
That should be like the formula. I mean, in my opinion, it's like you're going from a certain temperature, which is comfortable, to an uncomfortable temperature that's either hotter or colder. And that's going to be the growth of the hormesis. It doesn't really,
Yeah.
we just like as humans now is just so, complex and intellectual with it has to be 3 minutes and you have to rest for this and you have to go back when man, just like, can you just be instinct? I think I'm ready, just go for it. Or I think I'm ready to dip out, get out. Like just following your gut and following instincts and your nervous systems. Like if you can only take 5 seconds and your nervous system tells you, I need to breathe, then don't push past that. And then slowly, gradually feel more comfortable with the discomfort. But I think we're just, in general, we're just too comfortable with our thoughts, the temperature comfortable. Oh my God, it's too cold. Let me put a jacket. No, feel cold for a couple minutes. It's good for you. It's okay. You're not gonna die.
Mhm.
So little things like that we lost our innate survival skills. Like you don't have to run every day to be able to run. You just have to be healthy, that whenever you need to run, you can just run if something's happening. Things like that. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say, but I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
making too complicated. It's so simple. It's so simple.
yeah. It comes down to, trusting your gut, like you said. And it's through the gut, we can access like the real nervous system.
Mm.
It's like
Yes. But
most.
again, our gut is just our instincts and feelings and emotions are buried by distractions and poison and toxins that, like you said, the light voices they're just more quiet, that sometimes when you feel your gut and your instinct, you're like, wait, is this really
Yeah.
right? And then boom, the shadow comes and overpowers your instinct, and you're like, no, I'm just gonna do it that way. But I'm like, that very first second feeling, it's the real what it is, but it's just so quiet that you're like, wait, did I just really felt that way? Did I hear that? I'm like, And then you're like, nah, I don't think so. And you know, it sucks. It happens all the time. Like, stick with that feeling, the very little feeling that you're a little bit in doubt is because you haven't practicing following your gut all the time for everything you do.
Yeah, the
You know?
intuition is also a muscle. Yeah. Gets
Mhm.
better the stronger and stronger the more you use it.
Yeah.
All
It's
right,
pretty cool.
it's getting towards like an hour and a half, so I think I'm gonna call it. I have some stuff I gotta do.
Come on, what's time this day?
I gotta leave in about a half hour.
Totally messing with you. I know we gotta be on the podcast for now.
But
But
for next
there.
week, I think read the EQ. Check out the
Okay.
EQ and the lines. Matt, if you have any questions, there's resources and stuff. There's like we have all the PDFs for each sequence.
Send them to me. I'll send you my email.
Yeah. Well, so they're in the Telegram chat.
Okay, cool.
So check out the pinned messages. There's
Okay.
recordings from the previous ones, but if you go up like 2 or 3 pinned messages, there's a Google Doc with like all the ways to download like links and stuff for everything.
Cool.
So
Sweet.
yeah. So we'll plan for next week. It'll probably be 11, might be 11:30 or like 11:15. I may be teaching a class at like 10 o'clock. So I'm not sure yet, but I'll keep you guys posted.
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds
All right. Thanks
nice
again,
to see
guys.
you, Matt.
Yeah,
Nice to
nice to meet you.
see you guys
All right.
later.
Later.
Talk to you guys
Have
later.
a great
Bye.
day.